Hello guys and gals, and welcome. So today we're going to be talking about another unique item, and that is, if you can't tell by the graphic on my character, it is a very special graphic. It is the Lightsabre Phase Blade. The Lightsabre Phase Blade was most likely named after the lightsaber from Star Wars, so we might as well just admit it. And the lightsaber has a lot of interesting effects, which can make it relatively useful to a variety of characters. And as we go over the stats, you'll see. The Phase Blade is the elite version, so do keep that in mind when you're thinking about this particular item. That it cannot be upgraded. Basically, it goes Crystal Sword, Dimensional Blade, and then Phase Blade. So those are the three tiers. Phase Blade being the highest of those tiers. So do keep that in mind. Now, this particular sword is actually kind of interesting to use because of its various effects, and we're going to go over those right now. So first off, we have 136 dexterity, which is relatively high. A lot of characters are not going to be able to put this on. You will have to have at least 136 dexterity, either in equipment or base. And most characters that are going to have this are going to be melee characters of some type or ranged characters of some type. Your average sorceress is not going to be building 136 dexterity unless she is building max block. Now, a max block sorceress might have that much dex. We also have a strength requirement of 25, which is absolutely negligible, and a level requirement of level 58. And due to the fact that this is a phase blade, it is a relatively fast weapon, so keep that in mind. And we also have 20% increased attack speed on it, so it's very nice from that perspective as well. Now, we also have a 5% chance to cast level 20 Chain Lightning. And it does vary between level 14 and level 20, which is a pretty big variance on the skill level. Chain Lightning will hit multiple targets, and because we are dealing with a relatively large variance here, we're going to have to talk about the amount of damage that variance can do. So at level 14, which is the lowest level, we get 7 bounces for an average damage of about 100, the 1 to 195. And at level 20, which is the highest it can be, we get 9 bounces for an average damage of about 140. With the top end being 281, so 1 to 281. It's not exactly nothing, but it's not exactly an amazing amount. If you were to put this on a sorceress, though, who had max synergies in Chain Lightning, along with Lightning Mastery, it would do a lot more. Next on the list, we have a 200% enhanced damage. And this particular item has a variance of 150 to 200%, so a 50% variance on the physical damage that it does. Now, the physical damage isn't the main characteristic of this weapon, but having that physical damage is certainly a nice bonus. We also have a flat 10 to 30 damage, which is added to the weapon, which is also going to be physical damage, so keep that in mind. And then we have the Ignores Target's Defense. Now, Ignores Target's Defense doesn't work on bosses, so to keep this in mind. But what Ignores Target's Defense does is it takes attack rating out of the calculation versus most monsters. It doesn't guarantee you a hit. So let me put it that way. It does not guarantee you a hit. When you are fighting a monster, what it does is it just simply takes the attack rating out of the calculation entirely, but the calculation is still there. There are other points to the calculation, like character level, monster level, and so forth. And if you are fighting a monster that is extremely higher level than you are, there will be a pretty big difference in your 2-hit chance because you are a low level and he is a high level, and that is programmed into the game. Now, when it comes to the attack rating, though, they won't calculate that because the attack rating is being ignored. We also have 60 to 120 magic damage, which is very nice. Magic damage is a form of damage which has very little resistance among monsters, and when you attack a monster with a magic damage attack, it generally goes straight through to deal the full damage. Whereas the 1 to 200 lightning damage that is on this, which seems like it's more than magic damage, is generally more often than not resisted by 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, sometimes even 95% off of that 200, which makes that 200 relatively useless. So when you think about magic damage as sometimes even 3 times more effective as the equivalent amount in lightning, cold, or fire. We also have 7% mana stolen per hit, which is definitely nice to have on a weapon. Lightning absorb 25%, and this is a really amazing statistic because this is going to allow you to heal when you get struck by a lightning attack. Let's take the lightning damage that's on the weapon, for instance. So if 200 lightning damage comes in and hits me, it's going to take 25% of that 200, and it's going to pull it to the side. So 25% of 200 is 50, and then it's going to heal me for that 50. So it's going to negate that 50%, and then it is going to, or that 50 damage, it's going to negate it, and then it's going to add it to my hit points and heal me with it. So it's going to heal me for, it's going to negate essentially a total of 100 damage, because 50 disappears and 50 reappears on my hit points for a total of 50, 50 plus, which is 100, which is very, very nice. Lightning Absorb is very good to use in combination with flat Lightning Absorb. So you have Lightning Absorb percentage, and then you have Lightning Absorb flat. Something like Blackthorn's Face, I'm pretty sure has flat absorb, and then you've got like T-God's Vigor, Thunder God's Vigor for the belt that has Lightning Absorb percentage. Lightsabre has Lightning Absorb percentage, and also Wisp Protector has the same. So a very interesting statistic, and will certainly help you versus those lightning damage monsters. If you were, for instance, a Frenzy Barbarian or something, and you were going up against Gloams, which have an extremely high amount of lightning damage, you could definitely use this as your way to prevent yourself from dying to them. Now granted, it's not going to protect you by itself. You're going to need lightning resistance. So usually when you use lightning absorb abilities, you want to combine them with a massive amount of lightning resistance as well. So do keep that in mind. We also have +7 to light radius here, which is definitely nice. And I forgot to say that the variance on the Mana Steel is 5 to 7%. So interesting there. Now, what could you potentially use this for? I imagine it would work very well on a Zeal Paladin. I imagine it would work very well on a Frenzy Barbarian, perhaps even just as an offhand. The main purpose of this seems to be to cut through physical immunities. So it seems to be a weapon specifically made for characters like a Zeal Paladin who are going to have trouble getting through physical immunities on monsters. So when you do happen to come across a monster that is immune to physical, you won't have any trouble actually dishing out any damage to them. And this is important because that ability to kill a physical immune monster is something that will definitely hold back a lot of melee and ranged characters. So having a weapon in your arsenal that you can pull out at random or whenever you need to, that will make your effects, that allow you to get through content, essentially, is definitely nice. So if you've got your hands on a lightsaber, maybe hold on to it just for those times when you need to kill a lightning or physical immune monster, or when you're going up against a bunch of Gloams and you've got to you want to use that 25% lightning absorption. I could also theoretically see somebody using this maybe up against Uber Mephisto, who hits really, really hard with lightning damage. Could come in handy. And I'm not exactly 100% sure all the uses for this particular item. I feel like it definitely has a lot going for it here. The ITD means that you could use it on a non-melee character, like a Necromancer or a Sorceress fairly easily, because the ITD is going to ensure hits. And you could also use this on several other characters that might necessarily just need some physical immunity breakage. They want to break that physical immunity and make the monsters suffer for their impudence. You can also socket this item, and you can throw in something very nice, like for instance a Shale Rune, or maybe a trying to think off the top of my head, add some Open Wounds maybe with an Rune, or add some Crushing Blow with a Burr Rune or something. I'm not exactly sure it would be worth a Burr Rune. But the interesting thing about this is that it is a very useful weapon at level 58, which is the level that you can use it. And this particular weapon is just an interesting all-around weapon for a character that wants to break immunities. It's also an interesting weapon for a character that might have trouble hitting targets. Maybe you're leveling up your character and you just don't have the attack rating that you need, and you're trying to figure out a way to get the attack rating that you need. Okay, so use this for a little while with the ITD until you can figure out your attack rating issues, and then swap to something a little bit better. As a frenzy barbarian who's using 2 weapons, this could definitely come in handy as an offhand, just simply so you have a huge amount of elemental damage on one hand if you happen to be a sword barbarian. The really fast nature and the indestructibility of it makes it exceptionally good for a Zeal Paladin, because you don't have to worry about running back to town all the time and repairing your weapon. And if you've ever played a Zeal Paladin where you had to run back to town every 5 minutes and repair your weapon, you know what I'm talking about. All right, anyway, this particular item isn't too difficult to find, and if we look up this item on the TC class list, I'm pretty sure we will find that it is relatively easy to get. So Phase Blade. So Lightsabre is part of the TC class 75 category, and it is the same as Azure Wrath, so they both drop in essentially the same place. We just covered Azure Wrath, so I already know that this item will drop in essentially most of Hell difficulty. At level 75, you're looking at level 73 or higher zones. And for the most part, every zone in Hell difficulty is level 73 or higher, with the exception to a lot of the areas in Act 1. So like, for instance, Bloodmoor, Cold Plains, Stonyfield, Darkwood, Black Marsh, Taomi Highland, those are all 69. They're too low to drop the Phase Blade. But for instance, the Hole level 1, or the Pit level 1, or the Cave level 2, you know, there's a lot of little zones in Act 1 that actually could drop the Phase Blade. They're kind of peppered in and out of Act 1, but when you get to Act 2, the majority of the zones in Act 2 are high enough to drop the Phase Blade, all the way up to Act 5, of course, and also the Cow level, which is level 81, can drop the Lightsabre Phase Blade. So keep that in mind. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, and keep watching. And don't be ashamed to hit the like, the subscribe, and the little bell icon if you're interested in more. I've got tons and tons of new videos coming out for unique items, and if you have a specific request on an item that you would like, let me know.